I shoot on the Sony a7S III, and I love this camera. The functionality, the usability, the size, everything about it is exactly what I need for my workflows. Sony's gotten a bad rap for having weird colors, and today we're going to talk about how to grade SLog3 footage in 3 different ways that will get you different results, but that are easy each time. What's up guys, my name is Jake Meyer and I am a video producer in Oklahoma, and this channel is a resource for people who make things. So why am I talking about the a7S III? Shouldn't I just buy Phantom LUTs and move on with my life? Well, I mean, yeah, you could do that. And full disclosure, I do own Phantom LUTs and they're fantastic. Joel, you've done a phenomenal job with matching these up. Incredibly natural, great colors. Love the packs that you've put together. So yes, that is one option of grading a7S III footage, but it's not the only option. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why you should use different methods to grade different kinds of clips. So if you guys will join me, we're going to go over to the computer and talk about how I would go through and grade this clip in a couple different ways. So we're going to go ahead and play through this clip right here, and you can see that he's just talking, and great. That's going to be our frame that we go through right there. So the first method that you can go in and do is you can go to your timeline settings, which is Shift 9, and then you can go to from master settings to color management. And on the color management tab, you can go to color science and change that from davinci YRGB to color managed. And so basically what that does is it helps Resolve know what you are grading in. So you can go down here, save that. Then the next thing that you need to do whenever you're going through and grading SLog3 footage is you need to tell Resolve, this is what the color space I'm working in is. So we're going to go to the color tab. We're going to go to our clip down here and we're going to right click and we're going to input color space. And then we're going to change it. Right now it's default set to Rec 709, but we're going to go down, change this to SGamut 3 Cine SLog3 and click on that. And look, it's already graded. You have some things that are peaking, and so you want to make sure that you can go ahead and fix that. But look at that. It's already super natural. It's not supernatural. You can see that it is natural. It looks good and the colors look fine. Everything matches up pretty well, and it's already converted out of that log space that's hard to look at and puts it right back into the space that you want it to be, Rec 709. So I'd recommend using this method only if you've monitored your image all throughout recording and you know that nothing's going to be peaking, nothing's going to be clipping. You're just going to be able to put this on here, change the color space, and be good to go. You won't have to do a lot of grading afterwards. But let's go to method number 2. We're going to go back to the input color space and change this back to Rec 709 scene. And then we're going to go back to our timeline settings in the color management tab, and we're going to go back to davinci YRGB. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to add some LUTs, and that is just Alt S or Option S depending on the keyboard that you have and the computer system that you're using. And we're going to go in and add a color space transform. Color space transforms are really beneficial, and the one thing that they do is they take all of the guessing work out of which conversion LUT to use. It's just all built within DaVinci Resolve. So all of these camera manufacturers have worked with DaVinci and Blackmagic Design to say this is what the linear conversion is for our log footage. So we're going to go to our color space transform and click input color space right here and scroll down all the way to SGamut 3 Cine. Then we're going to go to input gamma. We're going to scroll up to SLog3, and look at that. Look how different the image is from this clip to the previous clip. It's a lot darker. You can see that our blacks are getting crushed down here, and you can just see that based on looking at the scopes down here. But then also look, you've got all of these windows that are totally blown out, and his face is a little darker than I would like it to be. But that's just the differences in using a color space transform as opposed to using the input color space. So method number 2 of using a color space transform, I use most of the time. That's kind of how I grade my footage, is I go in and I put a color space transform towards the end of my node tree, and then I make all of my adjustments before that. And then there are some I make after that, like I'll add grain to a clip or power windows or things after the color space transform, but I usually put this towards the end of my node tree. So let's go to way number 3 of color grading A7S III footage, which is using a conversion LUT provided by Sony. So if we go back in here, I'm going to go ahead and reset that node grade so that it just goes back to normal. And then I'm going to go in here, I'm going to right click on this node. I'm going to go to LUT, and then I'm going to go down to Sony SLog3 to Rec 709. Click on that. Look, it's graded, but it looks terrible, right? That's mostly because, oh yeah, that's because I have the wrong one on there. Ha, whoops. So we're going to go right click on this last node right here. Then we're going to go to the Sony folder down here. And then we're going to go to Sony SLog3 we're going to go, let's see. Oh, there it is. Sony SLog3 SGamut 3 Cine to LC709. And look at that. We have a flat, neutral image that is just okay. And this is a manufacturer provided LUT. So I'll put a link down in the description of where you can get this so you can use this conversion in whatever platform that you're using. I happen to use DaVinci Resolve or Premiere depending on the project that I'm working on. And you can do this method in Premiere or Final Cut or whatever you're using as well. So that's the benefit of this method as opposed to the first two, which are pretty much DaVinci Resolve specific. But let's go look at Phantom LUTs just to see how different they are from the other 3 ways that we've gone through and tried to convert our image to a normal looking image. So once again, we're going to go back through, reset this node grade. And again, this clip nothing's been done to it, but we're going to go in and we're going to go to LUT, then we're going to go down to Phantom, Sony, and then Film LUTs. Nope, we're going to go to Airy. Then we're going to go to SLog3 and go down to neutral. And that's probably one of the better looking images that we have from this camera right here. It really is solid just to see how good this looks just from one click. I didn't have to do anything at all. So we're going to go in here and I'm going to add this original Sony LUT that we were just using and take that off because that looks terrible. So we're going to disable the Phantom LUT, and you can see just how flat this LUT from Sony is. There's Phantom LUTs. There's the Sony LUT. Phantom, Sony. I happen to like the Phantom LUTs more, but let's go through and finish grading this just to see what it looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since my highlights are clipping here, I'm going to go back to my primaries node and I'm going to lower my highlights here. But then I'm going to go in to the next node and I'm going to raise up my offset. So I'm going to go in here, raise up my exposure. And since I'm already saving some information down here just from this first node, you can see just how bright those primaries are. Look how blown out the windows get in the background right here. What this does is, by saving my highlights first, I'm able to keep this image looking really nice. So I've gone in and raised up his skin tones where it looks like they're hitting right around 70 IRE, which is where I want it to be. But the highlights and the midtones are a little bit high for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and drop down the gamma a little bit. I'm going to go in and drop down my lift, take my shadows down just a little bit. And you can see down here, looking at our scopes, that we're not quite clipping, which is what we want, but we still have a pretty good range of exposure here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and increase some contrast too. Contrast just moves the highest point and the lowest point down a little bit. And then one really cool thing about DaVinci Resolve is that you can go in and you can change your pivot. So you can look at where your contrast is going, and you can change it from stretching out the lower end or the higher end. So I think that this needs to stretch out the higher end a little bit more. So we're going to go back, take our pivot down, and that's looking a whole lot better. And what we might be able to do is we might be able to take our lift down a little bit more. So you can see just how much work we're doing in one node right there, taking it from dark underexposed 2, looking really nice, but still not quite clipping. Now, there's not a whole lot of information up there, don't get me wrong, but we're able to retain a little bit just based on how we've graded this and our node structure right here. Look how much that highlights node is just doing right there. So one thing that Wakaskazi has ingrained in me is that editable splines are one of the best ways to go in and add more contrast or punch to your image. So I'm going to go in and add editable splines on my third node right here and just bring that exposure up a little bit. And then I'm going to go down to my shadows and look at what this is doing just with adding a little bit more contrast right there. The cool thing is that these are all just basic grades, but without that conversion LUT, they don't really look like they're doing much of anything. So this conversion LUT or this neutral LUT from Phantom LUTs is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Let's go in and change this to see just what it would look like if we put a film look on there. So let's go to our standard exposure and let's look at the eternal look. Already looks like it's straight out of a movie and I didn't have to do anything else. This isn't an advertisement for Phantom LUTs. It's just a guy who thinks that they're really solid. Let's go in and try the Vision one. Same kind of thing. Already looks like it's straight out of a movie. And look at that. We're pretty much done. I'm actually going to go in and change this out to back to the airy, but I'm going to go to the Utopia look because I think that that's really cool. And here's a look at the final grade. So there you have it, folks. Those are 3 different ways to grade A7S III footage without using Phantom LUTs, and then 1 way to grade it with using Phantom LUTs. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel and like this video. Leave a comment down below if you so choose, and if not, that's okay. All right, I'll catch you guys next time.